You may have noticed this. Every month, the worship committee and I make little adjustments to the script that worship associates use at the beginning of the worship service. One of the more recent adjustments was removing the word busy. Worship associates used to say that we're a busy congregation with lots of events and activities. We are active. We are engaged with one another and with the world. We're working hard to build the world we dream about. Still, I'm not sure that busy is an adjective that we want to describe our spiritual home. This month, as we're talking about balance, I was reminded of a performance. I think it's from America's Got Talent. You may have seen it. It was quite viral on the internet. The performer's name is Miyoko Shida Rigolo from Japan. She does an amazing balancing act. She begins by gracefully pulling a large feather out of her long hair, and she balances the feather on a finger and bends down to the stage to pick up a stick that's on the floor, and she balances the feather on the stick. It's kind of impressive. Then, while still balancing the feather on the stick, she bends down to pick up another stick and proceeds to balance the feather and the stick on top of the stick that she's just picked up. This stick is thicker and heavier on one end, and it gets skinnier at the other end, so the weight is sort of a cantilever effect. From there, she balances the collection on another stick and another stick. By the time she gets to the fifth stick, the collection has grown so large that she can no longer bend down to pick them up, so she has to use her foot to pick them up from the stage. And she keeps picking them up, balancing precariously. And these aren't small sticks. The first one is probably a couple of feet long, and they get longer and longer from there. She continues to build the beautiful, impossibly balanced mobile of sticks and feather until she's balanced 10 of them, and she finally picks up the largest stick and uses it as a sort of pole to prop up the whole thing far above her head. As a viewer, watching her concentration involved in this is exhausting. As a final climax to the act, she reaches far above her head and lifts the feather off the very end of the assembly of counterbalanced sticks. Removing the weight of that single feather causes the whole construction to collapse immediately. These acts of balance are incredibly impressive. We're captivated by these performances. It's what the whole Got Talent franchise is built on. And while I'm amazed by the balancing skills that graceful woman shows, I'm also aware that most of us are involved in balancing acts most of our lives. Some are far more complicated than anyone would dare perform on a stage. I want to acknowledge the effort that's necessary. Parenting just astounds me as a non-parent. Affording life in Orange County, staying healthy in a pandemic, attending to aging parents, there are a lot of precarious pieces of life to attend to, and I honor that effort. I truly do. I also want to pause for a moment and acknowledge that some of that balancing act sometimes is in fact an act. It's a performance. We are compelled into this performance for all sorts of reasons. Our culture validates busyness. It's the modern embodiment of the Protestant work ethic. Also, having too many obligations to keep track of is a great strategy for avoiding our deeper feelings. Sometimes we gain a sense of self-worth from that pile of achievements. And notice I'm using the word we here. In our fast-paced world, very few of us escape this being compelled to be busy. All of this is why busy is probably the last thing I want us to aspire to at Tapestry. Yes, we are active, certainly. We are engaged with one another and with the world. We are supportive and generous. But busy is something that doesn't belong in our list of goals. If anything, I hope that we can occasionally find an antidote to busyness. I hope that we can occasionally find stillness and celebration. In our meditation, we heard from Henry Nouwen. He's a well-known spiritual writer. His words in the meditation remind us of the necessity for drilling down beyond the superficial, to find a foundation, or as he puts it, a love that is unconditional. He wrote, "The world says, yes, I love you if you're good-looking, intelligent, and wealthy. I love you if you have a good education, a good job, and good connections. I love you if you produce much, sell much, and buy much. There are endless ifs hidden in the world's love. These ifs enslave me, since it's impossible to respond adequately to all of them." Now, Henry Nouwen's spiritual framework is Catholic. He was a Catholic priest. In his theology, the seeking for the absolute, the unconditional, was seeking the unconditional love of God that's beyond the uncertainty of this world. That specific theology doesn't reflect what a lot of Unitarian Universalists believe. Still, I think we are all too familiar with that long list of ifs. The world will love you if you are, if you perform, if you look this particular way. The attempts to measure up are endless. Some of us may follow a path similar to Henry's, keeping focus on God. Others of us use different language to navigate all those ifs. Whatever language we use, the beauty of this community is that we accompany one another in that search. Whatever the particular language we use, the spiritual journey that we embark on together is a journey to a center point, a balance, a truth that is unconditional. It's the quest of a lifetime. Some of us occasionally come in contact with that source of awe and wonder. Others of us never quite make contact, but we're able to find balance in the movement toward a steady point on the horizon. A couple of years ago, I had a pastoral conversation with one of our members that was struggling with a challenging diagnosis. The only thing that was certain was that life would probably be dramatically shortened. But what to do next? What do you do in the midst of profound uncertainty? He said to me that it felt like drifting in a small rowboat on the ocean. Continuing with a very apt metaphor for feeling uncertain and overwhelmed, I suggested that he start rowing his little boat. You see, boats are far more stable when they're underway. Think about the movies that you've seen. You don't have to know much about boats to have seen this in movies. Boats in storms, they always keep sailing or keep motoring, pushing forward in one direction, right? Don't ask me about the physics or the engineering behind it, but moving forward brings a lot more stability in troubled waters. Boats are more stable when they're underway. We are much the same. keeping focused on a balance point in the horizon, even if it's a long ways off, keeps us steady. I believe this is one of the main missions of our life together. To keep before us, even at a great distance, some steadying sacred point of balance. In the past 2 years, the words unprecedented and crisis have almost completely lost their meaning. I wish it was because of the sensationalism of the media, but it's not. Surviving a global pandemic, followed by a global superpower invading Europe, all played out before a backdrop of catastrophic climate change, is a whole lot to take in. And we need one another to stay focused and to keep moving on this journey. We also need one another to remember the real life-saving power of kindness in our world. As Casey shared with us in our reading this morning, we heard, before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, it is I you've been looking for. And then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend. This, I think, is the other key mission of our Tapestry community. And it makes me so incredibly happy when visitors report feeling welcomed here. We say it about ourselves, but assessing one's own sense of kindness is not the easiest thing to do. One of my favorite movies of all time is Steel Magnolias. And the perennially cranky Weezer Boudreaux is a hoot. In one scene, her friends are telling her she might be more pleasant if she got out more. Weezer responds, I'm pleasant, damn it. I saw drum eating at the grocery store this morning and I smiled at the SOB. I couldn't help myself. I am glad to say that our self-perception of being friendly is more accurate than Weezer Boudreaux's. In fact, this sense of friendliness and welcome doesn't rely on our own self-perception. Over and over again, visitors, and even people who are connected to another faith community, will tell me how warmly they felt welcomed here. And that is more than a feather in our cap. That's reminding one another about kindness. And it goes far beyond Sunday mornings. I've seen great kindness exercised, helping each other recover from surgeries. I see real cross-generational friendships as surrogate grandparents encourage young people to blossom. You comfort each other in times of loss. You even help each other move. If that's not love, I don't know what is. Now, some years our stewardship campaign employs skits and jingles. Sometimes there are balloons and costumes, and I can't guarantee you that some of that won't get employed later this year. But this week, at least, it seems important to dig into something a little bit deeper. Tapestry is here, frankly, because we need it. We need one another, like our vision statement says, to be a home for liberal spirituality. The other day, as we were wrapping up the worship committee meeting, people were venting about the news that they were hearing that day about Ukraine. It went on longer than I was really comfortable with, but there wasn't much I could do or say. Of course, the discussion didn't land in any answers. It did, however, end with those in the room feeling that they had been heard, and that there was a place to bring their honest fear and concerns. We offered a listening ear to one another and encouragement without quick, meaningless guarantees that everything would be okay. We need this place. And the people who haven't found it yet do too. So before you fill out your pledge card or do whatever you do online, I hope you take a pause, maybe take a few days, and think seriously about your pledge before you make the commitment. We've raised the goal of our stewardship campaign this year so that we don't have to keep running around asking for money quite so much. More than just avoiding that annoyance, having a successful pledge campaign frees up some time to focus on other things. Finally, I want you all to know that whatever you are able to give to support one another and this community, whatever your gifts are, they are deeply, deeply appreciated here. Amen.